Hi everyone. I was thinking a few days ago how hard it can be for some people in this moment if they are self-isolating. I experienced loneliness a few years ago. I lived by myself for about 2 years, and honestly, I realized something at the end, which is that every person can deal with it differently. Some people just enjoy this. Other people, they just struggle. They don't know how to cope with living alone. Okay, I'll tell you my experience. I live in a big town, so when you live in a big town and you have to live by yourself, first of all, one of the main problems and your main thoughts are connected to your financial issues. I used to work part-time, and I used to live in a shared accommodation. I was already over 30, so it's not that easy. I was already, in my mind, I wanted to have my own independence 100%, but on the other hand, I couldn't afford it. So how did I manage to live by myself and to not feeling too lonely or too depressed? Let's say that I am a kind of person who enjoys a lot staying just indoors, doing my things. I like the silence, I like my independence, but when I started living by myself, the very first months, I didn't have a clue how to manage that situation, because I was used to live with people, first with my family and then with friends. So when I went to live alone by myself, I didn't actually know how to feel better. All those moments where you're just sitting in your bed and it's Saturday night and you were used to go out and then you're not going out anymore. Okay, I had my boyfriend. We didn't live together at that time, but I had a boyfriend living in my same town, but he used to work in shifts. So sometimes it happened that on the weekend when I was off, he was at work. And maybe I could see him for like a couple of hours, 3 hours, and then the rest of the weekend I used to spend it by myself. And I didn't want to be focused on how sad that situation was. I wanted to be focused on all the good sides about living independently and living by yourself. So I used to have flatmates. We weren't friends at all. We didn't share anything at all in the house, except saying hi, how are you, in the kitchen. And I had some issues with them who didn't have problems with flatmates. So in the end, when I was off, I didn't want to spend my time indoors in my small room with 5 flatmates in not even a big house, so I could hear everything outside my room. It wasn't very relaxing in the end. I had to find a way. So I started making myself a small plan, which is not a to-do list. When you're off, you can't do to-do lists. Don't do that. I used to join classes outside, outdoors. So if I was doing yoga by myself until that time, when I needed to feel less lonely, I started doing it outside. And then I used to do another thing that I realized that was so helpful for me. I started going to cafes, just sitting there for hours. I used to spend literally whole afternoon, evenings in a cafe, just sitting there with my tea or coffee and just writing stuff. Now, this is about what you like to do. If you like writing, reading, doing things on the computer, all these things that you can just do sitting in a chair with a table, that's it. I used to sit there doing my things. I like writing, so I used to write, doing transcriptions, and just time literally flew away. And I made my Saturday because I was so happy and I was doing exactly what I love to do, but I was doing it in the community. We need a community, we need people. We can't deny we are social animals, even when we enjoy the silence, the loneliness, the indoor activities. As me, I'm totally aware that we all social animals. We need to share, and we need relationships. So those things like going to cafes, going out for a walk, doing these little things, that will change your mood. Because we're talking about how we can change our mood. Because if we feel lonely, if we feel isolated, if we feel depressed, which is the consequence, the only way to overcome in that moment, if it's not that bad, like a serious depression, the only thing that you can do is just going out and trying to do something outside your house. There was another thing that I really like to do, which was going to charity shops. I've always been on a budget in the last years, so I couldn't afford to go to do shopping, like a compulsive shopping. I couldn't do that kind of shopping. I had to do a considerate shopping, which is going to charity shops in the end. So I really enjoyed it. And when you go to charity shops, you feel like you're sharing more than just buying a dress or buying a sweater. You realize that you actually share something more. You're talking to the volunteers, you see the way they work, and they're not paid for it, and you're like, oh my god, I really appreciate this, I really like what you're doing, and you have a chat with them and with other customers. That environment, that situation becomes your small community in that moment. You feel like you're inside a community, and that was something really helpful for me. It made me feel like I was literally part of something, and I was giving my contribute to something. So that was another thing, because let's be honest, I don't want to do a very long video about what I did to feel less lonely, because each person has different ways. I can't tell you what to do. You know what you like, as well as I knew what I liked. You just need to find a way. You need to find a way to get up from your bed. It's very mental, and it's actually even the key word and the key to open your door. So you need to distract your mind. You can't be focused all the time, every day, on your problems or on your loneliness. Your mind needs to find another way. Your mind needs to go somewhere else. If you are focused on how lonely you are, how can you manage to do something different? How can you have the motivation to get up from bed and going out? It's almost impossible. It's possible in the moment that you move your thoughts from there and you start thinking about something else. So instead of thinking how lonely you are, start thinking, how many things can I do if I go out? How many things I like to do if I go out? Is there anything that I would love to do? Is there something that I'm thinking to do for years and I never tried it? Let's do a research. So in that case, you can just move your thoughts. The more we are focused on something, the more we feed the fears, and we feed the bad moods, and we feed the depression. We all have something that we can give to the community, to ourselves, to the world. It's all about finding it. So this is a very psychological trick in the end, which I followed for myself, obviously, because I work in mental health, so I could see the effects of this mental attitude on the customers. So I said to myself, okay, it's your moment now. You're struggling, you're feeling completely lonely. You need to do something. So I found my own distractions. Distraction is the key word. Always remember it. And remember this, distracting yourself doesn't mean that you're denying problems. In the end, think about it. If you're just feeling lonely because you're lonely, where is the problem? The problem is the loneliness, that's all. If you have other problems behind it, that's something else. But if you just have my same problem, like feeling lonely because you don't have any social connection, you create your own social connections. And once you do it, you'll see the difference. I used to go home after spending my day outdoors, and I used to be happy. And if it happened that one day I decided just to stay home all day, that's fine. As far as your mood is not affected by it, it's totally fine. But if you see that your mood starts being affected because you're too isolated, you have to do something outside. And there's no excuse about the isolation now. We are on self-isolation, we are on quarantine, but we're still allowed to go out once a day. We're still allowed to go out once a day for our outdoors activity. So if you don't run, you can go for a walk. Obviously we can't go to bars, we can't go to cafes, to pubs, but we can go out, and it's springtime. So no excuses. And this is it. I don't want to make it last forever now, so I really hope that you find this helpful for yourself. And let me know if you have any questions about how you manage your loneliness and how you can manage it. Be focused on what you can change in your near future, in your life.